METS therapy, huh? It's going to be necessary tonight because that would hurt. That was one of the more frustrating, devastating, painful METS postseason losses that I've seen and experienced, and we'll see how this season ends to see if it elevates even higher if they lose the series. Mets lose 5-3, had a 3-2 lead in the 8th inning, and the Brewers, who, according to ESPN and the graphic they flashed in the 7th inning, had not won a playoff game in which they entered the 7th inning trailing since 1972. Well, that streak is over, and the Brewers now have the momentum going into Game 3 at home. Look, the first thing I think you got to talk about is that 8th inning, obviously, and the decision not to go to Diaz. That's what I would have done. Interesting game for the manager tonight. He pulls Manaea after 86 pitches and 5 innings, which meant you're going to need 12 outs from your bullpen that's already kind of gassed. Now, he did have it set up, and maybe he thought Maton was going to be fine with one day off. This was Maton's third time pitching in the last 4 days. But, yeah, I would have went to Diaz there. And I heard his explanation after the game that he only had Diaz for a few batters, and so you probably weren't going to be able to get him for 6 outs. I still wanted him against the top of the order, and this has been a great manager all year. I think he's going to be a great manager for this franchise. They're going to do a lot of winning with him. It's a second guess, and it was a first guess in the moment. So, look, Maton's been great for this team all year. This isn't about his ability. It's just I thought it was – I didn't know how much he had left. He was on fumes. However, as much as you want to point to that 8th inning and be like, that's why they lost, this team also had a lot of opportunities. And, you go to the first inning where, you get a run in first and third, and Pete Alonso grounds into a double play. And after having a 3-1 lead, and Starling Marte gets to second base with nobody out, and then, doesn't score. And then later in the game, you get the bases loaded for Iglesias, and he doesn't get a hit. Now, these are guys that have come through this year outside of one person, which I'll get to. But you needed 1 to 2 more big hits to drive in runs to make sure you weren't protecting a 1-run lead going into the 9th inning, or just even the 8th inning, because that was just never going to be enough to win this game, and it proved out that way. That one person I want to talk about, and shout out to Anthony DeComo who tweeted this out. So Pete Alonso has not had an extra base hit since September 19th. That was the same day. That was his home run against the Phillies, the back-to-back home runs with Mark Vientos. It's also the same day that the Jets beat the Patriots on Thursday Night Football. That was a fun night for the Mets-Jets fans, and I have not felt good about watching Pete Alonso at the plate since apparently I also felt good about the Jets, who I'm terrified they're about to fall to 2-5 after their next 3 games. So that's how long it's been since I felt good about Pete Alonso at the plate. I mean, he picked a couple of short hops that Lindor threw him tonight, so I'll give him that credit, but buddy, they're putting you up there with these important spots, and productive outs at this point will celebrate. I know the ground out that he had was a rope. I don't even care that he tripped over his bat. Like, shit happens. But I'll settle for productive outs at this point, because the power hitter that we need you to be, I don't think it's coming back this season. Now, I say that as someone who knows that every time I doubt someone, the next day they have a big game. So I'll say that now. So if that inspires Pete to hit, or the universe even, because he's not going to see this, but for him to hit a couple home runs tomorrow, then I'll take it. But my goodness, man, this is tough. This is tough to sit with, because this has been a special season. and a lot of special seasons have happened here and there for this franchise that we've all enjoyed. You know, a lot of people have brought up 2015 this year, or 2006, and how did those seasons end? See, those seasons ended with some devastating playoff losses. And I'm sitting here thinking about a Game 3, realizing that we just experienced a devastating playoff loss. The thing I'll say before I wrap is that, you know, there's a world where this team folds and feels this loss. And that would not be their MO. And while we as fans are feeling that, there's something about this team that tells me that this is just the latest bit of adversity that they're going to have to overcome to get to where they want to go. So, you know, got to win Game 3, obviously, do or die, or the season's over. The Brewers have found life, and they're at home, and maybe they're going to exercise some demons of their own. But as far as the next 24 hours are concerned, and they'll be the only team being watched, because it looks like the Braves are about to make a comeback. It looks like the Braves might get eliminated, and there'll be 3 teams that advance today. We'll see which one advances tomorrow. That's all I got. Let's go, Mets.